Sierra Leone modern Sierra Leone lies just outside of the margins of some of the relatively well-known states of the West African savanna. The red line there outlines the ancient empire of Ghana, while the yellow line is an approximation of the borders of ancient Mali. These are savanna states that flourished before the Europeans arrived on the West African coast in the 15th century, before the development of the Atlantic slave trade. But Sierra Leone lies just south of this area, and in fact, as you see in this map, it's literally right at the margin there. The fact is we really don't know where the borders of ancient Mali was, so it really depends on what author you're reading as to exactly where the borders were, but it was certainly a bit north of where Sierra Leone is today. The pre-20th century past of Sierra Leone is among the least known in Africa, particularly West Africa, a region that has not been well studied in many cases by archaeologists. There's a lot of gaps in our knowledge of the past. But even with regard to West Africa, Sierra Leone is one of the places that really has received very limited attention. So if we look back before the 20th century, before the 19th century, particularly for the hinterland regions, there's very, very little information. There's few documentary records, there's some oral traditions, but also very little archaeology. If we look at West African past, of course we can look to Arabic sources for some information for West Africa. So for example, the states of ancient Ghana and Mali that I was mentioning, these are areas that we know a little bit about by Arabic traveling accounts going back to the first millennium AD. We don't have information like that for Sierra Leone. Particularly, you have some documentary sources beginning in the 15th century with the arrival of Europeans on the coast. But for most of the Sierra Leone hinterland, there's very, very little in the way of written sources until the 19th century. For example, in northern Sierra Leone, literally you only have a handful of documentary accounts provided by European travelers throughout the 19th century. And here we're trying to cover a lot, but in terms of the brief history, the British protectorate that began on the Freetown Peninsula with the colony of the Sierra Leone colony is